Hi everyone, it's Emma. I am happy to be back with you again this week, continuing to talk about 2 Corinthians, and we're up to chapter 6. And the title for today is The God for Hard Times. And I think it's such a good thing for us to be talking about because we are going through such a hard time at the moment, aren't we? There are so many challenges that we're facing because of this pandemic. And life is quite difficult in many ways for many people. And you might have been finding life quite difficult the last little while. And I want to say 2 things about when we go through hard times. The first one is that even when we go through hard times, God is always with us. And God will always help us to get through the hard thing that we're facing. Whenever we ask Him to give us strength, He can give us strength. When we ask Him to give us courage, He can give us courage. When we ask Him to give us peace, He can give us peace. He doesn't always take the hard thing away from us, but He always helps us to get through it. And the second thing that I think it's good to remember about going through hard times is that sometimes we don't want to go through them and they don't feel very nice. But in the end, they can make us stronger. So often when we go through challenges in life, they make us stronger. They make us sometimes more patient. Sometimes they make us more wise. Sometimes they make us more kind, because when we see somebody else going through a hard time, we know how that felt and we can be kinder to them because of that. So those are the 2 things that I think is really good to remember when we go through hard times. That God is always with us and that He will use it to help us to grow, to help us to become stronger. So this morning we're going to read from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, and we're going to read about Paul's hardships. And Paul kind of gives a list of a lot of the hardships that he went through. And he had a really hard time because he was a missionary and he went around preaching about Jesus. And not everybody was a big fan of his. People would beat him and he was put in prison. And all sorts of difficult things happened in his life because of his commitment to preaching the good news about God. And not only that, but as he was traveling around, life was pretty hard. There were no cars or trains or planes for him to get around, so he often had to travel by foot. It was very tiring. There was no McDonald's for him to stop at when he felt hungry and wanted to, just go through the drive-through. So often he was tired, hungry, thirsty, and life was hard. And so I wanted to think about this morning, how do we react when things are hard? When we're going through difficult things, how do we react? And for example, when you're feeling hungry, how do you react? And there's actually been a new word invented to describe how people react when they're feeling hungry, and they're so hungry that it makes them angry. So now we have a word, hangry, to describe it, because it's such a common thing that people get angry when they're hungry. And often the way that we react when we go through hard things is not in a very good way. Sometimes we react by complaining. Sometimes we react by being grumpy. Sometimes we react by saying, this is not fair. I know that I do that when things are not going the way that I think they should. Sometimes we react, unfortunately, by being unkind to the people around us, or you might say taking it out on the people around us. Sometimes we react by being impatient. Sometimes we react by feeling sorry for ourselves. And all of those ways of reacting to hard times, they're very normal. They're very common ways for people to react, but they're not really the best way. And so I want us to look at how Paul reacted. He reacted in purity, with pure thoughts, pure words, pure actions, with understanding, patience and kindness, And remember, he's not just being patient when everything's going well, he's being patient when he's been put in prison and he doesn't know how long he's going to be there, and he shouldn't be there. It's all unfair. And he's acting with kindness, not when everyone's being kind to him, but when people are beating him with sticks and throwing stones at him. It's very hard to be kind to people in such a time, but somehow Paul managed it. How on earth did he do that? Well, the next bit in the Bible gives us a clue. It says, in the Holy Spirit. And last week we talked about how the Holy Spirit fills us like air filling a balloon. And, if we're left on our own, when we're feeling hungry, we're going to be grumpy. When people are being unkind to us, we're going to want to be unkind to them. But when we're filled with the Spirit, it helps us to react in a different way. And it helps us to react to hard things in a positive way, the way that Paul did. So I want us to remember, whenever we're facing any difficulty, that we can pause and we can, instead of reacting in the way that we want to, we can invite God's Spirit to guide us and to help us to react in a positive way, to react with understanding, with patience, with purity, with love and kindness. And that's not an easy thing for us to do. In fact, it's impossible for us to do that on our own strength. But with God's power, we can. That's all I wanted to share with you this week. I hope you've enjoyed the message, and I hope you have a really good discussion in your family about how you can put this into practice in your lives, how you can learn from Paul's example. And we'll be praying for everyone who's going back to school this week. Hope you have a great time reconnecting with your friends and teachers. And we'll see you next week. Bye.